Good evening, dear colleagues. My name is Zarina Saifieva. I am the WINCA Network Coordinator, and I am honored to welcome you all today. Today's webinar dedicated to Women's History Month and the incredible life of Maria Sklodowska Curie. This event is a chance to learn about a woman who changed the world of science and overcame many challenges along the way. Marie Curie was a pioneer in her field, becoming the first woman to win a Nobel Prize and the only person to receive it in two different sciences. At a time when women were often denied opportunities in education and research, she refused to give up. Despite facing discrimination, she continued her work, making discoveries that still impact our lives today. Her story is an inspiration to all of us. It reminds us that determination, hard work, and belief in ourselves can help us break barriers and create change. Even today, many women face obstacles in science and other fields, and we must continue working towards equality. I encourage you to take part in today's discussion, ask questions, and share your thoughts. Let's honor Maria Curie's legacy and celebrate the achievements of women throughout history. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you enjoy our today's webinar. I pass the floor to Valeria. Valeria, please introduce yourself and tell us about our speaker today. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Zarina, for such introduction also. My name is Valeria Gergieva. I'm a PhD in political science, and here at the Black Sea Women in Nuclear Network, I'm a leader of the Nuke Talks initiative. Also, I'm working as a researcher at the Institute for Peace Research and Security Policy at the University of Hamburg. And it's my pleasure today also to welcome and moderate this special joint webinar by two incredible networks. As already Zarina mentioned, the topic today and how it's important, this topic, and to talk about women and to celebrate also like together this Women's History Month. And today we are privileged to have as a speaker Dr. Mimoza Ristova. And she will present us the presentation under the topic Maria Sklodowska Curie, Life in Combating Discrimination. And I will shortly introduce Dr. Ristova, but the full bio I will send into the chat because Dr. Ristova has impressive bio, so it's better for you to read it than I will read it now. So Dr. Mimoza Ristova is a university professor, scholar, columnist, novelist, playwright, and human rights activist. And she teaches undergraduate courses in electronics, electricity, and magnetism, and graduate courses in photovoltaics, medical imaging, and forensic science at the SS Cyril and Methodius University in Skopje, Republic of Macedonia. So please, Dr. Ristova, the floor is yours. You can start the presentation.
Thank you, Valeria, very much for this. I'm ashamed when I'm so highly presented by people like you, young people, the future of our society, who are aware of what is the value of having the icon of Maria Sklodowska Curie as a role model that we have to what is it called? Obey the same rules, of growth, of fight, and then combat all the challenges that are in front of us with the masculine world, still masculine scientific world that I feel will be one day equally available to all the males and females, equally available. So let me show, by the way, thank you, Margarita, for inviting me. I was very happy to hear that you remembered my talk from 4 years ago about Maria Sklodowska, and I was so happy to be invited by you to give a talk on this event. Impressive place where Zarina is having in a background. I have been at Berkeley University. So Golden Gate was next door. So it is my pleasure to be close in some way with that part of the world, which I like very much. Okay, so let me start with my presentation. This is, okay. So Marie Sklodowska was combating many aspects of discrimination that she faced even from the start. The day she was born, she was already discriminated in her country. The country was Poland, later it was France. But let me tell you the story step by step and guide you through the path of fighting immense energy spent into paving our path of the female scientists, so we can go, we can travel easy way, and we can travel the road she traveled on a very easy way. So Marie, she was from Poland, from Poland, but the whole Europe was actually very chauvinistic, not only the Poland, which was under occupation of several countries. All the territories for women are not free yet. I mean, science is liberated in some way, but there are territories like in Catholic religion that are forbidden for women. Some places are closed. We cannot enter, like Athos of Greece. We cannot enter the territory of Conclave of Vatican. But nevertheless, we, step by step, we will conquer the world. We will manage. So let us never forget who made the first footsteps into the big masculine chauvinistic snow of science. What was the scientific conferences? What was one scientific conference looked like before the phenomenon Marie Sklodowska Curie appeared on the scene of science? They looked like this. This is a scientific conference of mathematicians. And if you see, this is not a pleasant photo. This is the very imbalanced photo. Only men are present there. So, but the end of this kind of discrimination of the women in mathematics comes a bit later. There is another figure beside Marie Curie, which is Sofia Kovalevska, who made her path. She became a first professor ever in the world, a female professor, and she was part of these conferences later in mathematics. But this is the first conference in science organized in Brussels, and it was called Solvay Conference, organized by this person here. Solvay was industrialist and inventor who had gathered all the important faces, all the scientists here, Albert Einstein, Poiret, Rutherford, and Langevin, very famous faces here. And you can see the change. 1911, you have Marie Curie here. Marie Curie is the single. This we called in mathematics a singularity, something that happens maybe by a chance, but this is not a rule. So the rule still not established. The rule would be the women are also part of the scientific world, but not still established until she is a singular person that participates. So this is 2 years later, still Marie Curie, she is participating with all these men, all these very famous, brilliant geniuses, but she's there one. And then 21, see, again, nothing happens. This part of the world has inertia. They are fighting. They're trying to fight against females participating. Probably they consider Marie Curie's special case, but no. 2 years later, there is a conference, Solvay conference in Brussels as well, and we have the breakthrough is done. We have Irene Curie, Marie Curie, and Lisa Meitner. So this is the change happened. And then many years to go, the things changed very slow. See, like 1 decade later, also 3 women are participating, but we are coming to the point at which we have like very close to 40 to 50% participation of the female in STEM, in natural sciences and mathematics and technology. Let us talk about historical, political, and societal circumstances under which a person like Marie Curie that occurs, very rare circumstances. For example, in 1900, the Poland territory was actually divided between Germany, Russia, and Austro-Hungary. There is no Poland on the map. While in 2000, see what is the change of Poland. So Warsaw, the city of Warsaw, is under Russian occupation. Russian occupation wasn't easy for the Poles. Russians have established a scholarly system, especially higher education on their language, which made a high resistance within the potential young people who want to study. And they were actually fighting against this occupation, ethnical and what is called educational resistance was very, very interesting. They organized secret universities. They didn't give up. We don't have, okay, we go study Russian, but there is another point of discrimination here. The women couldn't be enrolled in university studies in the Russian universities also established for Poland. No, they couldn't study. So the women are discriminated, a special discrimination for women. And yes, they were fighting for their liberty. Polish language was forbidden for public use. Sklodowska family was devoted to open patriotism. This is the place where she is born. This is a very famous place now. The second floor of this building, which was previously a school where Marie Curie's parents were working, actually. They were residents here. They used to live in a ground floor. On the second and the third floor, it was a school, a high school. Today, this is the Electrochemical Society of Poland and Chemical Society of Poland. They are taking care for the building and the museum dedicated to Marie Curie life and all the artifacts and exponents that they managed to bring from France. Practically most of them are here. So I had the opportunity to touch her dress, which is, by the way, still radioactive with uranium and radium. And there is a counter still showing how radioactivity is. Imagine what she was a victim of the science. She sacrificed her health and well-being and the well-being of her family. And the daughter, Irene, was a victim. Also, Pierre Curie was a victim. The whole family was a victim of the scientific discoveries that are following in the next couple of years after her arrival in France. So this is Sklodowski children. Marie Curie is the youngest one. They have 5 children. The youngest is Marie. And the oldest one is Zosia. Zosia is the sister who took care for the youngest ones and took care for the sick mother who was sick of tuberculosis. But the first injustice served by God, let's say, was the 2 people that she loved most died within 5 months. Her mother and Zosia died. So she remained motherless child. And then she was kind of very highly intellectual and was depressed due to the occupation. But revolutionary students were trying to make changes, but all these uprisings were suffocated. They didn't manage to come to the liberty. But then they found their outlets. They organized higher education poles, which were very well educated, because most of them were educated in St. Petersburg University. So they were all very educated people who were teaching in schools, in secondary schools, and in some Krakow University, Jagiellonian, and Poznan University at that time. But those are people who were educated in Russia, and they were very high standard scientists. And they started, because of their patriotic feelings, they started to organize teaching in their language. And those schools were called flying universities. So one night they are organizing the teaching in a museum in a school for industrial chemistry. Then the next day they are organizing in the what would be like a museum for arts, or I don't know what were the objects that they organized, but most of them were public objects. So every day they would receive a voice from somebody that around there will be a teaching in chemistry and physics there and there. So that's kind of university education Marie achieved in her home country. And imagine, with this kind of university and this kind of education, she had a big gap of knowledge when she transferred to master's studies in Sorbonne, where within a couple of months, she became one of the best students. So she graduated cum laude. I mean, she was really a fast learner, extremely fast learner. Let me tell you about this. Before she went to live with her sister, actually, she went to live not with her sister. The sister was already in a relationship before being married in Paris. She lived alone. But before that, she was collecting money. And the way she was collecting money, she was working as a governess in a Zuravsky family, a student who was studying mathematics at Jagiellonian University. They fell in love. But there was a forbidden territory for Marie Curie, a social discrimination, terrible thing. She couldn't be in a relationship with the rich person. She was an aristocracy, but they were rich because they were holding a sugar factory. So this relationship was forbidden, and Zuravsky, Kazimir Zuravsky, was in an arranged marriage with Leocadia Yevnievich, whose father was a professor in applied mathematics at the St. Petersburg University. So imagine, she was nowhere to go. She was in a relationship, a triangular relationship. She was all the time cheated by her Kazimir Zuravsky, who was also in love with her, but with the other person too. And this was devastating for her. One day she broke up. She broke up this relationship, and she said, if you don't decide to get married to me and have children and build a joint life together, like a legal couple, then I'm going to Sorbonne. And Zuravsky was devastated, but she went there. This was this kind of social discrimination that was most devastating for the young person, like 19-year-old, and smart, and she grew up without mother. I mean, that was a defect of the growing of a child, that missing a mother from a young childhood leaves a deep trace into the life of this person. So these schools look, this is an illustration. When I found this illustration in Poland, how these schools look like. mean, this was a school of art, and women were studying painting in this kind of flying university. So there was a high education organized in this way. They never gave up of getting educated. Marie at Sorbonne, as I told you already, had a master's degree in physics as a top student in the class. And then she also, this is a very unknown fact, actually. She had a master's in mathematics. She was second best in the group. She was top 5, but number 2, actually, in the group of mathematics. So she had 2 degrees at once. This is an impressive data that nobody knows actually about this, except for the biographers who are taking care for the documents that they found in Sorbonne. They married with Pierre because they met in a certain circumstances where he offered her to come to his lab, where he could measure, having and offered the facilities, and he facilitated an instrument that was very, very rare at that time, that he designed with his brother. This was a quadrupole measurement of current that could be applied into radiation measurements. So they got married. Not so easy. The marriage wasn't like straight ahead. She went one day, she ran away from Poland to seek job in Poland, from Paris to seek job in Poland. But she was discriminated again. Wherever she applied with her diploma, master degree in physics, like a top student from Sorbonne, and a second one from mathematics, she didn't get a job. There always has been a man who would steal the position instead of her. So discrimination everywhere she went. So she came back to Paris again because Pierre offered research. He couldn't offer much because he was a young scientist as well, still pursuing PhD. And then they got married. This is their marriage day. Very unusual. She's not a bride-like dress outfit. She's a normal, regular outfit with a dark coat she was wearing, and they got bicycles for each other as a present, as a wedding present. Yes, she discovered that there is a person called Becquerel. Henri Becquerel was a 3rd generation of a scientist at Sorbonne who was doing very well, actually. He discovered the radioactivity by having placed a stone, an ore of uranium onto the photographic paper, and after developing of that paper, they discovered it was irradiated. So this was the first discovery. But Becquerel didn't go any further, other than discovering its existence and proving there is radiation coming from these ores. He didn't do any other measurements. Then Marie stepped in, and she said, I'm going to do this and this. Pierre, would you like to help me to do such measurements? And Pierre and Jacques Curie had this instrument, which was available to Marie to do these ionization measurements, like a primitive ionization chamber that measures the radioactivity. So she started doing the work, measuring salts. Then she discovered that thorium is also revealed the same property. The property is radioactivity. It illuminates the closed, wrapped in black paper, photographic paper. So there was a discovery of a race by Becquerel, but then she went looking for elements. She tested all the elements from the periodical table of elements, and she found another one that possesses the same property, and that was thorium. This was her thesis. I couldn't find on this front page of her thesis that I found on internet, there is no title, but this was Gabriel Lippmann, a very tough person, heavy person, chauvinist. If you have watched a movie about Marie Curie, the last one that I watched, Lippmann is the most negative person. He's practically a villain in this movie. He's torturing and mentally, I mean, he's devastating Marie. But she survived, and she didn't give up from making a PhD. So she became a first doctor of science in France. She became first female doctor in science in France. And then her and Pierre made research in the laboratory they have. And they had a notebook, of course. These scientific diaries people are having look like this. But later, when they've got the Nobel Prize, before she was awarded a Nobel Prize, there was a procedure that she had to prove that she equally participated with Pierre. And she wasn't just an attachment. She wasn't just an adjunct laboratory person, technician who helped him. She was just another scientist who deserves the credits for the made discovery. So this is one of the notebooks they were sending to the what is it called, Nobel Prize Committee, to prove that she was the one who deserves the prize, and she's the same level and as her husband. And the role of Pierre Curie here is crucial. He was convincing the president, was having his doubts about her contribution, but there was a process where Pierre Curie convinced several members of the committee that his wife is not there because she's a wife, but because she's a scientist that deserves to be there. So Pierre Curie's, let's say, supportive feminism it was very valuable. Curie's were in well-being after the Nobel Prize was awarded to Becquerel and to those two. They had a new lab. They have beautiful daughters who are dressed in white lace. That's a status symbol. They are perfectly in the household, doing family life and very social life. And then she continued the research with charcolite and U-blend. Those are very radioactive ores that Pierre purchased from Germany, from some mines from Germany, and they were coming, and she was purifying them, treating them with all sorts of acids. And imagine, from this kind of ore, 1 ton of this ore produces 0.14 grams of radium. It's nothing. I mean, 1 ton of ore, she had to manage through her hands. Wash it first in water and then put it in acids and then everything else. And then this is the half-time of the decay is 138 days. It is very, very, very highly radioactive material. And also, even less polonium could be found, less than 1 milligram. This is 1 gram, 140 milligrams, and this is less than 1 milligram in the same amount of 1 ton of ore. So she extracted those 2 important elements that are attributed as her discovery, because Pierre wasn't there anymore. So this is just a chemical processes, how she went. The chemist would know how difficult it is to produce polonium sulfide, for example, and make it 1 milligram and measure it that it is radioactive element. So polonium and radium, those are the 2 other children on Marie Curie, aside from Irene and Eva. So she have 2 children in the periodical system of elements. But in that happiness, in the middle, amidst of blossoming in the scientific matters and in family matters, a trauma happened for the family. Pierre Curie died. 3 years later. Pierre Curie died in an accident. He was in an accident in Paris with a chariot. The horse actually stomped on him and crushed his skull. Actually, that was the worst ever moment that could happen to a woman like Marie Curie. She was devastated. She was then, people like her biographers refer to her as to a depressed and insensitive person who doesn't care about anything. At that time, she was just speaking to spirits. She was talking to who? She was talking to Pierre all the time, and Pierre was dead. And she was talking to Pierre. The people helped her. There was André de Bien, who was assistant to finish the project of radium. Radium was something that has to be finished. They had a certain amount, but they had to provide more in order to establish the amount that is required by SEVRA, by the units of France establishment in the state. So there is a French Academy of Science where, are you hearing my cat meowing in the background? No, thanks, okay. So there was a procedure where Academy of French Science is electing their new members, and she applied to become a member of the science. She wanted to go break through another obstacle, another barrier, another forbidden territory. But she didn't manage, unfortunately. Edouard Branly is her opponent, who was elected, and she wasn't. She wasn't because why she wasn't elected? Do you have any guesses why she wasn't elected? Because she was not a man, and she was not French, and she was native Polish. So many aspects of discrimination other than measuring her scientific values and her contribution to the scientific physics society. Things happening about her all the time, extremely emotional things. She was in love with Langevin. He was one of the Pierre's assistant who inherited his work, actually. And she was, I don't know what to say. She was, her career was devastated. Actually, they wanted to expel her from Sorbonne for having a love affair with Langevin. And she was a widow. I mean, that wasn't. And in order to claim and to create the atmosphere of hatred, they said that she was Jewish on the top of everything, which she wasn't. But at that time, anti-Semitism was very famous in France, and they made this spin that she's Jewish to provoke the highest form of hatred against a human being like her, which should be praised instead of hated. So she was stigmatized in the media. Newspapers are full of her love letters. Some of the journalists broke into her house and stole the love letters exchanged between Marie Curie and Paul Langevin, and they were published. Imagine how difficult it was. And she was again ill. She wasn't well anymore. I mean, people who knew her at that time, they said she will never come back in that science again. She is just devastated. And yes, she didn't win because this media started to raise their voice against Marie Curie related to Paul Langevin, just to help Branly to win. And the Academy said no to Marie Curie and yes to Mr. Branly, who people doesn't know his name because he was nothing. He was nothing. He was one of the people who worked with Giuliano Marconi, who also worked with Nikola Tesla. I mean, this kind of knowledge that comes in the third rate of order wasn't valid as much as her, but he became. He was more French, more Catholic, more men. She wasn't going to Catholic church. Actually, she wasn't very devoted to the church. Then Marie Sklodowska Curie. And that was a highest form of a discrimination and stop sign again that she suffered. But she continued. She won a Nobel Prize, another Nobel Prize. Imagine she's the first person to win second Nobel Prize, the first woman ever to win second Nobel Prize, in recognition to her services and advancement in chemistry related to the discovery of the two children I told you, the polonium and the radium. And then this was a depression. But she found a strength to teach Irene. She disseminated the knowledge to the daughter, and the daughter had also a husband, and they were practically learning from Marie Curie. Everything she knew, she transferred to those people. So she died one day in a very, very, very painful circumstances. She was suffering from radiation disease. She was young. Relatively young. She was 65 years old, but she looked like as if she was 90. She looked terribly because the aging effect of radiation was obvious. She is the one life experiment of how aging is evident from radiation. She was buried in the Curie's tomb in Seoul, but then she was transferred to Pantheon, where with the highest ceremony, highest honor of two countries, Poland and Paris and France. And she was not transferred to Pantheon because her husband was transferred there. She was transferred because of her own merits. So she broke again another rule there, because Pantheon was only for men. The grand men of France were buried there. Only the wife of Victor Hugo was buried there, but she wasn't for her merits, because there was important legacy from Victor Hugo that he wanted his wife to be buried with him. He left this into a testament. So the irony of the life to be buried in Pantheon, it is written, au grand homme, la patrie reconnaissante, to the great men. I mean, great man, homme on French is man only, and people also. The same word for people and men. The first woman to be buried in Pantheon due to her own merits. Then we celebrate her. I mean, there is no day that I don't think about anything about her. She is my role model. She is my, what is it called? The icon of my scientific life. I mean, when it is tough, I always think about her. 1 Curie is a unit for activity of radioactive elements. So this is in her honor. And then Horizon 2012, they named the program Marie Curie Actions. It was a fight also. I mean, they told me what was in Brussels. It was happening like people were fighting against why Marie Curie, there should be, the name of the action should be called after some other scientist. I can't remember who was it. I mean, even she's dead, she's still fighting for females' rights in every respect. And then Google login page was one day, 2011, when I woke up, it was like celebrating 100 years of the Nobel Prize in chemistry that she won. The first one was in physics. Let's see how many disciplines she was winning. Who was the first female Nobel Prize winner? She. Who was the first female PhD in France? She was. Who was the first female to establish a lab in Sorbonne? Who was the first woman professor in France? She. who was the first to win 2 Nobel Prizes in the different fields, physics and chemistry, who was the female Nobel Prize winner to be mother of another female Nobel Prize winner, who was so unique to infect the close family to win 6 Nobel Prizes. The close family, they have 6 Nobel Prizes, who won so many battles against so many different types of discrimination. This was Marie Sklodowska Curie. So many stop signs she overcome. She just waved them. She didn't pay attention, actually. She suffered probably terribly from each of those stop signs. In front of each barrier that was set by the male people in her life. But she became one of the most influential scientists, still one female among the 10. And then, yes, instead of conclusion, it is not easy to step first in a snowdrift. It is difficult, but then it is us. For us, it is easy to follow, but for Marie Curie, it was easy to know that somebody is going to follow because she had her daughter with her, and she knew that she was going to be the one that she that will be the descendant of the fight, and that will make the change in the world. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much. Yeah, let's give like such applause. Bye. Yes, thank you so much, Mimoza. It was so interesting and inspiring, and I even was crying almost 2 times and at the end as well. Yeah, it was really, I guess, the most inspiring speech which I ever heard about, like, you know, when someone is presenting about biography or role model. So thank you for this. I'm sure that everyone feels the same. And while we'll wait for questions from the audience, I would like maybe to start with a question from myself. It will be just like to begin the conversation. I have several questions in mind, but one of them is regarding the current situation, right? It's like obvious question. So Maria Curie was such a role model, right? And it's so important to choose the right role model in your career. So I feel you are very wise to choose Maria Curie. And my question is, how do you think how we can compare the challenges with which was facing Maria Curie with the current challenges still for girls and women in STEM? Of course, it's different now. There is much more support for women, but still we are far away from the equal society for equal rights for women in STEM. So how would you estimate the progress and maybe what still should be done, like in this regard?
Okay, that's a good question because it is torturing me all over these decades that I can see no much progress, for example, in the leading positions in STEM. For example, the Academy of Science, I'll give you an example. Out of 50 people in the Academy of Science, full members at the Academy in North Macedonia, we have only 2 or 3 women. I think one died, we have 2 now. I mean, this doesn't change for decades. Nobody can pass that barrier. I don't know what to do to change it, but probably I couldn't make it. They told me in France, they have the same situation. It's still persisting, very few members in France. I mean, those leading positions are still reserved for men. But slowly, we shouldn't give up. We should fight. We should have the role model in front of us that the fight pays off. One day we will have the fruits of our fight if we don't give up. We have to educate young generations to be persistent and to fight, because the world is equally given to the men and to women, and we should not think about having withdrawing from the role of having the same role as a man. That we have womb, and that's the only difference, and we don't have genitals as men. We are the same. The brain construction, it is proven that it is the same capabilities in science we have. So we should continue with our fight. It is not bright at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. We have a question from the chat now from Zarina, and then we will continue. Also, I have additional questions. So, Maria Curie was not only a brilliant scientist, but also a devoted educator and mentor. How do you think her role as a teacher and her commitment to sharing knowledge influenced the next generation of scientists? And what can modern academia learn from her approach to mentorship and collaboration?
Well, see, I'm not sure she was really a real mentor. She mentored her daughter. I don't think she had many other students, PhD students, because she, as I told you, very soon in her career, she was depressed and she was withdrawn from all the functions. She was functioning on a minimum. She wasn't well. But people could learn from her deeds, from what she had left. For example, her sister as well, Bronislava, she was a medical doctor. And it was the dawn of the war was coming. So they started doing X-ray radiation, what is it called, on X-ray radiation of cancers. They started, the first radiotherapy was delivered by the hospital that where her sister was working. So it was somehow related to teaching people to use the radioactivity for good matters. So she wasn't a really academic mentor. She didn't have any real, I mean, people used to work with her, but there isn't any proof that she mentored anybody, and anybody can say she was my mentor. I've never heard this so far. But the legacy she left, it is really huge.
Yes, thank you, Mimoza. Please, dear colleagues, prepare your questions. You can write in the chat, but you can also raise a hand, virtual hand, and shortly introduce yourself and ask yourself a question. So the most comfortable option for you. And while you're still thinking, there is one more question in the chat from Aida Dushenbayeva from WINCA network. Maria Curie faced a contradictory attitude of the scientific community towards her discoveries. Are there similar examples today where the discoveries of women scientists are underestimated or questioned? Thank you.
Yeah, there. I mean, there are many other women who faced the same problem that she was facing, but they didn't have much success. Probably they didn't have Pierre Curie to stand behind them. Like Lisa Meitner, she didn't win the Nobel Prize that she deserved. She was equal member that came to the discovery of the fission. Fission is discovered very early before the Second World War, but nevertheless, she didn't take the credits because she was Jewish at the time and she had to depart from Vienna. And then this unhappy circumstances, she had to give up from her discovery, because probably she didn't know that those guys are nominated and she didn't know where to write. Unlike Pierre Curie, who wrote the Academy and convinced them that his wife is just another scientist like himself. Also, the DNA discovery by Crick and Watson, they got the Nobel Prize, and responsible for the discovery that this is double chiral structure of the DNA molecule is a woman. Oh, can't remember now her name. Is very famous woman. She She didn't win the Nobel Prize. Another terrible injustice in the world of science. I mean, people now have the liberty to raise their voice. They have journals, they publish. I mean, this is different now. I mean, whatever discovery you can make, you cannot leave it to the male scientists. You can always write and prove and raise your voice. So we have our voices now. It is much easier. I don't know about the world where the epoch discoveries and landmark discoveries are made, how they are struggling with, how the women are struggling for fighting for their place in the Nobel Prize winning discoveries. I have no idea, but probably it is difficult. It is still difficult. It looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a question from Safa Murad, please.
Yeah, first I'd like to really thank you for this very inspiring, very interesting talk. It was really very good, and I enjoyed it so much, and I think everybody did. My question is about fighting for our right as a female and for proving ourselves in the STEM field. But here comes the question, and what is the advice of you as an expert and as mentor and leader in this field for female to compromise between between themselves as being a female and between being or having to fight for their right to prove themselves, because sometimes we find ourselves like we want to go beyond ourselves, and maybe sometimes we want to work harder than usual to prove ourselves. So what's your advice in this concern?
Safa, please introduce yourself so our colleagues know who you are. Sorry for.
I forgot this. I was so much taken by giving my opinion in the very, very beautiful talk. I'm Safa Murad, Radiation Safety Officer at the American University of Beirut, and I'm also a member and GE of the General Secretary of the newly inaugurated Arab Women Network for CBRN security. And here I would like to thank Margarita for her effort in establishing this network.
Okay, Safa, yeah, I mean, what would be my advice? My advice is wake up 2 hours earlier. So, I mean, this is my life. I wake up every day between 4 and 5 to catch up with all the duties I have at home, with my animals at home, with my children. I still have 2 children, students, taking care of. I'm a single mother. All my life, I am a single mother. I mean, I divorced twice because I didn't get the appreciation of my efforts. I mean, I had to get rid of my husband to have the liberty to do my way of work, to dedicate myself to the work I want to do. So, I mean, my advice is, yes, there is a time. And the day is 24 hours, so people can organize this time and preserve the peace of mind, and then preserve your energy and organize your internal energy, not to get sick. Just don't overwaste your energy to do the work, the scientific work that you need to do, teaching work. And let me tell you, I have 6 PhD students, of which 5 are women. I think I took only women for students, but there was a boy that really insisted, and I had to say, okay, you too. So, I mean, I really want to continue educating females to give them the strength and to lift them up to achieve their their goals and to succeed in their family lives as well as in their professional lives.
Thank you so much for your advice. Thank you.
Thank you, Sefer.
Thank you, Mimoza. We have one more question, and also I will, I guess, tell a few words here that Maria Sklodowska Curie is impressive, but you are also such an impressive person, specialist, professional, really. And I have we have a question from Professor Mustafa Kofi, and I will also add a bit to this question. How Maria Sklodowska Curie managed both work and family life. I guess maybe you read some memoir, and my question is also to you, how you're still you have much as a single mom. I'm also a single mom, so I want to ask how you not get this burnout from everything you need to do, because it feels like initially when you have a goal, you're inspired, you're moving, everything works out, but at some point you're burning out, especially when you have a lot of challenges. So maybe you had some mottos, maybe you were inspired by Maria Curie also, maybe you read something about her life and how she managed this, so maybe something like from personal perspective, and additionally from Maria Curie, maybe memoirs.
Okay, thank you, Valerie. Yeah, I mean, this would be very untrue if I say that I never fall, that I never stumble, that I don't get burned out. I've got burned out several times. And yes, I was 3 times in my life, I was under antidepressants when I lose somebody in my life, like my father and my mother. My support, I always get lost for a certain time. Then I pick up my pieces and collect my cramps that I crumbled, and I start like a phoenix from the start, from the beginning. And then, yes, family life difficult. It's not easy to have a parent like me, demanding mother for the children, but they survive me. I mean, they can manage me. They can. Yeah, I'm not strict, and I'm not. I'm very democratic. We vote for every decision we make in the family. So it is very important to bring the children in a democratic atmosphere, so they can feel that they have a voice. And then they have to learn that everything is up to them. If they want to decide to get educated, they will get educated. If they decide not to, they won't. I mean, the driver is here. My father was very highly educated. He was a professor in physics as well. So I'm a professor in physics. If your children doesn't follow the road that you have paved for them, I mean, that's another, okay. I mean, new generations find their ways, different ways.
Thank you. I guess we have now the last question in the chat from Hanna Shepel, who is a senior lecturer at Igor Sikorsky Kyiv Polytechnic Institute. She's, of course, she's very thankful for a wonderful and interesting presentation. And she tells that it must have been incredibly difficult to work under such conditions. But what do you think was Maria Curie's greatest motivation to continue her work despite the challenges?
Oh, yeah, in my novel that I'm secretly being challenged by this. What was her motivation? What was her motivation? Motivation was on the very beginning, motivation was to impress Kazimir Żurawski, the first love of hers. She went to study in Sorbonne to get the degree in physics, and then she turned into mathematics with no need for doing this, because he was a mathematician. And all of a sudden, she decides to go to study mathematics, master degree in mathematics. So I think this kind of loss that she suffered from the young age, being rejected for social challenges that she suffered, from not having a wealth, a dowry in the family. That was the turning wheel in her life. Actually, she was propelled on the very beginning, to prove Kazimir Żurawski that he was wrong. I mean, she was a young person. These kind of molecules in the brain are different from the later age. On the beginning, she was probably wanted to prove that she was the best choice for him and not Leocadia Yevnievich, who was a pianist. Then she went to search a job in Poland before she got married to Pierre. She went to seek for a job in Jagiellonian University, where he was a dean already. See, she wanted to be there. She wanted to be close. But she didn't manage to get a job in Poland. Somebody else got it. So I think the first propellant was this kind of drive, the love, the unrealized love, the rejected love, the pain that she suffered. But then again, Pierre came and cleared up all the pain she suffered, and that was requited love, returned love, everything, and a partnership. So then it was a partnership. She wasn't fighting alone. She was already fighting with Pierre.
Yes, thank you so much, Mimoza. Let me say a few words, and then I will pass the word to the president of the Black Sea Women in Nuclear Network. First of all, thank you, Mimoza, for such interesting. Really, it's even not like presentation. It's like inspirational life teaching lesson. I don't know how to tell it, how to call it really nicely. I will think about it, but it was not just a presentation. Thank you for this. Your knowledge and the way of your talking, it has a soul, you know, so it's very special. So yeah, so I guess that we will all agree that this webinar, this talk, it reminded us that the progress is, and our winnings, they are never easy, but this is worth to follow and fight for. And now I want to give a floor to Madalina Stefanik, who is the president of the Black Sea Women in Nuclear Network, and she will conclude the webinar and also telling her impressions about today's joint webinar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me? Yes. Dear participants, it's an honor, fantastic honor to see you today. I had the opportunity to travel today to Italy. I'm in the first day of my vacation, 4 days. So I can travel today because of a long list of my women from my family who fight and make me possible to travel. Thank you very much, dear colleagues who made this meeting possible, because thank you, Valeria, thank you, Margarita, thank you, Zarina. Thank you so much, Mrs. Mimoza Ristova. It was an example of your life and Marie Curie's life, and for us should be an example too. Today we had the opportunity to recall Marie Curie's life, which was full of challenges, and I'm wondering, this discrimination she faced then, facing today too? Yes, of course. Let's think about our colleagues from Ukraine, who they are still in Ukraine and fighting in a war. Or if they left as Valeria, a single mom, who's probably thinking, am I surviving next day? Am I have a job? Can I do something more to prove to someone else that I can succeed, that I'm a better person? Or as your colleagues from Ukraine asked me last week when I was in Belgium, in Brussels, they asked me, how Romanian people look at our colleagues who run from the war, from Ukraine. And I said, who cares? If I was in their situation, I did the same thing probably. So it's not something that we want to be discriminated. And I think, from my point of view, the discrimination will never end, but we have to still to fight and still to look for our rights. And thank you so much, Mrs. Mimoza, for your dialogue today, for your presentation. It's an inspiration, as our colleagues said. And let's not forget that it was our celebration. Happy birthday, my dears. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And please, I want to also to give a floor to Margarita Kalinina-Pol. So please.
I just want to, first of all, thank you, Mimoza. And I don't know if you have an opportunity to read the comments in the chat. If you haven't done that yet, I encourage you, because there are some really nice and kind words which our members shared, like Adeline and other colleagues. I also posted a link to your book, which you wrote. I haven't read it yet, but I am going to order it. It's available on Amazon now. And it's called The Warsaw Door, The Three Loves of Marie Sklodowska Curie. So this book, I assume, is available in English, and I encourage, if some of you want this book, I would be happy to give it to you as a present. So contact me. I would be happy to order some books. It's very inexpensive. So, and maybe one day we will invite you in person to one event where you could autograph these books for us. So
Oh, very glad.
we would be very honored. So, but I also found some parallels between Marie Sklodowska Curie life and your life, because, you know, there is just like, it's amazing how things, you know, how you could relate to your story through your narrative about Marie Sklodowska Curie. So thank you so much, Mimoza. I was inspired by you 4 years ago when I listened to you, and I am even more inspired today. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Margarita.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mimoza, for your such very interesting presentation. And you have a so beautiful name, like a spring name, Mimoza. And your life is so interesting. I think that today's webinar was so like inspiring us that you like struggle in life for your growth to kids alone. It's very difficult, and you're a professor of nuclear sciences. It's very important for us, you're a woman. Thank you so much for your presentation, for your thoughts.
Thank you, Zarina.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the wonderful words. Thank you to all of you. I'm just impressed of how nice it became. I wasn't sure what kind of seminary this was gonna be, but this is really came out very, very interesting, and you really engaged into discussion, and it was nice for me. It was nice feeling for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you're
Thank you.
welcome to join the network, the Black Sea Women in Nuclear Network, if you are interested, and Central Asian Women Network. I would be happy to share, or my colleagues will share some details with you. So
sure, I will be grateful. I will join the network. I will be part of you.